I don't understand how we can approve a recommendation for a curriculum that hasn't been written. As the curriculum, because my understanding is the scope and sequence is there, but the actual curriculum is not. And whenever we approved health curriculum, when the health teacher curriculum was approved and resources were approved, we saw all of that before we voted on it. So I haven't seen anything. And maybe I missed a meeting because I'm not always here, but I have not seen anything written to vote on. How do I vote? I mean, I agree with the things you said. I agree with all the things you said, and I want to see all that upheld. But I also want to see what it is I'm voting on. I understand there's conflicting opinions on the content and the verbiage that's used for early grades and a lot of different things. So I think it's really important that we actually see what we're voting on.
So I can speak to that. I'm Lisa Goodnow. I'm Associate Superintendent for Academics and Social Emotional Learning, and I can speak to pieces of that, but I think I'll need help from SHAC committee members to address the rest. Around the approval and what has come forward. So what has been developed, so the curriculum writing team that met, that was described in the report, really was convened. We started working on that process and bringing these professional educators and parent support specialists and counselors together in a process to, after the SHAC committee had, I think, initially approved resources. So that was kind of the initial catalyst for revising the human sexuality curriculum. In conversation with the teaching and learning leadership team, and due to the specific guidelines and really requirements from local policy, we brought this group together to dig into national standards, to recent research, and that means within what's emerged in the last 10 years, because the curriculum had not been revised in 10 years. Attending closely to the social, emotional, mental, physical health of students, and really having an outside neutral party help facilitate those conversations. So what that committee dug into partly was an understanding of what curriculum is. Curriculum really is a scope and sequence, as you described. It really is taking standards and aligning them, in our case especially, vertically, and looking at what's in research, what's in our local policy, and what are we seeing in data trends around the country, and keeping safety and equity at the heart of and part of the driver. So from that series of meetings that occurred over, I think, about 3 or 4 months, the consent that first they really did look at what are we going to base this information on, not only what we have locally and throughout the state, but what national standards are we going to base that on. I think for many of the people in the room, the American Pediatrics Association was one of the organizations, and we did have medical experts come speak to us, that informed the thinking of the professional educators and the counselors and the science curriculum writers and the support specialists in the room. And so from that, the standards were adopted as a guideline, and then there was vertical alignment of those standards. And that scope and sequence is really what the curriculum is. I understand, and this is where I probably will need help from SHAC, that SHAC then really looks at what those standards are, because that was a new element that we introduced, but that also what are the resources that we're going to base the next step of the curriculum on. And that's really instruction and pedagogy, and those are the lessons. And so the lessons have not been developed yet. I can assure you that we have not developed the lessons yet. We are looking at Again, professional educators, calling on our science, calling on our health educators and staff and campus level to develop tight, aligned and high quality lessons over the summer once the committee, and we hear from the SHAC committee, to move forward. Because at this point, developing those lessons without approval of SHAC would put the cart before the horse a bit, right? So before we invest the time and energy this summer to really develop these lessons at each grade level, we need to know that this is going to be something that SHAC supports. And so that's where we are in the process. But when we use the word curriculum, we really want to be clear that what we're talking about is a set of standards that the district then, and in this case in a very involved process, and I will let you know that we are going to be looking at rewriting language arts curriculum soon too, as the state comes out with more standards. And as we look to national standards as well, at the National English Teachers Association and other national organizations will inform our rewriting of English or language arts K-12. So that there is this kind of cyclical process that you go through with how are we going to, as a district, say this is our scope and sequence. When we teach it as a district, here's some exemplary lessons. That's what we would do in language arts. For human sexuality, these are going to be these will be developed, these will be delivered a certain time frame in May, and that will be something that we do, in this case, across the district. There will be room for campuses to say who's the best person to teach this at this grade level, some room for campuses for their communities to decide how they want to configure their classrooms. There's certainly room for that, but the lessons themselves will be very transparent for parents. Parents will be able to examine them. We really want to give parents the opportunities from September all the way through April, as their child grows, as they mature, as they get to know their teacher, as they get to know their principal. We will indeed host and monitor parent orientation sessions. We are going to encourage and support much more than that, and other ways that we can get parents access to those lessons once they're written. They haven't been written yet. They will be available in September if the committee approves. At that point, two parents can opt into or opt out of some lessons and stay in others. So they'll be able, and they will be able to have multiple opportunities to opt out. So that's kind of the overview of the process of just what we have now. We do have a set of standards. We do have a scope and sequence. We are coming forward with resources that we would pull from, but those resources then will inform the design of those lessons that are AISD lessons.
But you didn't. Well, when does the SHAC vote on the curriculum? Because it has to be approved by the board.
So that's a SHAC question. I think I'm going to let you, the policy experts, answer that. I don't know that SHAC votes on it.
Because this is an update, this is not, my understanding is that because we are not asking for any additional changes to be brought forward, this is just bringing it into compliance with existing board policies and the legal and local directives that they operate from. If we were asking for additional things, I can't think of an example off the top
But
of my
if it's
head.
changing at all, it has to be reviewed and reapproved if it's sex ed. I mean, that's what the law says.
I believe that this is just staying, it's just bringing it into compliance with what the board has already approved in the past.
It's kind of like approving scope and sequence. That's not the content. That's the outline. And the content has to still be approved.
So the difference between this and the health curriculum that we have reviewed in the past is that health lessons already existed, so we could look at them and see what they said. Whereas these lessons don't yet exist, but they're being based on the professional development of people in the district who specialize in
And I appreciate that, but like I said, it doesn't change the fact that we, as a shack, are not seeing the curriculum. The board is not seeing any curriculum, so.
I think what Dr. Goodnow is saying is that the STEM sequence is considered the curriculum.
So-
And I'm not sure that the SHAC bylaws or the state law says that we have to approve the detailed lessons. And,
The board has to approve the curriculum.
right.
We make a
make
recommendation. And I can't recommend something I haven't seen.
We're not recommending the lessons.
But have we seen the scope and sequence? I've not. All of you?
Yes.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
Is it sent out?
There's meetings. Yes. Tony?
So we